adjust this a little. Like that. Better. There we are. Maybe. And then a little of this. Oh. That's nice. Nice. Does that get on there? No, that's good. That's good. I can work with that. What's up, boys and girls? I see some of y'all getting in here. Coot, I'm surprised that you haven't come in yet and said, oh, that wasn't 30 seconds. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay. All right, gentlemen. Welcome to Live with Jack number 96, the first live stream of 2024, year of our Lord. Praise be upon him. Or however we do that now. I don't remember. But today, I'm going to be going deep. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. I see you there, Coot. I see you there. Don't worry. I'll join you in just a second. But if you would like to truly enjoy today's experience, if you would like to feel it to the maximum, if you want to reach the height of humanity, the culmination of all of civilization, all you have to do is grab your glass, your mug, or your flask, a chalice, a stein, or even a cask. Raise it high. Let's make a splash. It's time now for our libation bash. Toast the night and enjoy the mood. Together now we drink some booze. On your mark, let's not wait. It's Cheers with Chaps, so don't be late. Go. Oh, yeah. That's wonderful. That's delicious. Now, today, I'm going to be teaching you how to unfuck your life in 2024. But the very first thing that we need to talk about is we need to talk about identity and what that means. Now, this is a very important concept. And for those of you watching right now, you're about to experience a little bit of cognitive dissonance with this, because identity can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. It could mean how you feel about yourself, how you view yourself. It could also mean what other people expect of you and what you expect of other people. So I promise you, I'm going somewhere with this, and all of this is going to lead into the ways to unfuck your life. But the very first thing that we need to do is talk about identity and the different parts of that. Now, some of you may have noticed that during the Cheers with Chaps, I had something strange with me. What, Jack? That's not beer? Is it just straight soju? Is it just pure vodka, or am I a monster like Coot and just chugging gin by the glass? No, it's a glass of water. What is this? What is this? But you're Jack. Jack doesn't drink just water. Why not? I do this to demonstrate to you the power of identity. Because not only do you create an identity for yourself, but you create an identity that other people expect you to follow. And this is going to be very important moving forward, because we're going to be breaking down your identity so that you can come out the other side as a better person. Now, all that said, while the expectation of me clearly is to be drinking alcohol, and I'm drinking water for the Cheers with Chaps, that's no reason that I can't drink alcohol. All that it means is that I have to make the choice for myself what I want to drink, not based on what other people expect of me, not based on what they want for me, but based on what I want. And we're about to get into the consistency bias in a minute. Okay, good. Alcoholic. I see you there, Coot. I see you here. Let's bring this up for everybody else, right? Right. So, Coot, you're not an alcoholic today. Right. Okay, cool. So we're going to get into that in just a minute, because labels are just as important as identity. And that's a big part of what makes you act and behave in the way that you do. So understand that all of these things are a choice. Now, you can choose to lean into them. You can choose not to. Some labels and some identities are more beneficial to helping you reach your goals than others. But I choose to drink beer. Ah, got you. Oh, that was a fun little demonstration for the beginning, but it is important for us to understand how identity works and the reactions that other people have whenever you break from your identity. So let's jump into a little bit about the identity that you possess and the labels that you have. So one of the reasons that whenever people try to make a change, let's back up a little bit. If I ask any of you watching right now, do you want to change? Do you want to be better by the end of 2024 than you are now? Basically, everybody will say yes, right? But then if we go a little bit deeper and we say, okay, what are you doing to make those changes? We might get a sea of blank stares. Or some people might say, oh, I'm doing this thing. I'm starting to do this thing. I'm taking these actions. Okay, good. But let's go even deeper than that. Because if you want to make an actual change, not just for the month of January change, but an actual change and to actually unfuck your life, then the question needs to become, which parts of your identity are you willing to give up in order to make the changes that you want? Which labels that you self-assign or that other people assign on you and you accept are you willing to give up in order to achieve these goals of yours? Because that's where we actually have to get. The reason for this is because of something called consistency bias. Essentially, consistency bias is the human tendency to always do the things that you've already done, to agree with yourself from the past. So we tend to want to be consistent all the time because it feels, well, it creates extreme cognitive bias. It feels bad to have said one thing and then do another thing. That's why oftentimes in an argument or some kind of heated debate, people will use your own words against you. And it feels especially effective because we have an inherent bias towards remaining consistent, towards doing the same thing that we did before, or towards following the same beliefs and ideas and thoughts that we have said before in the past. If you want to make actual changes, you're going to have to endure a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of that cognitive dissonance so that you can make the changes needed to move forward. This is important. So that means you're going to have to drop parts of your identity. Okay. And one of the biggest issues with identity, with labels, is that it creates a team dynamic. It creates a large us. I am part of this group. I am a Democrat, or I am a Republican, or I am a libertarian, or I am an American, or I am this or that, or I'm a Christian, or I'm a Buddhist, or I'm an alcoholic, is a perfect example. And all of these different labels, all of these different identities that we carry with us all the time, by their nature, have limits to them. And so they stop us from looking beyond those limits, and they also stop us from acting beyond those limits. So understand this, whatever situation you're in right now is likely due in at least some part to your labels, to your self-identity, to your social identity that you allow people to cast on you, and towards the consistency bias that you feel because of those things. So as we move forward through this, you're going to be giving up parts of your identity to make certain changes. Okay. Now, another thing that's important here is that team play, these group dynamics, this us system. All of this stuff destroys agency. It takes away your ability to make your own decisions and to make choices for yourself. So you guys you're gonna love me for a second, but then you're gonna fucking hate me. So get ready for it, because I'm not here to just say things you like. So one of the best examples of team play that destroys agency and takes it away entirely is the modern feminist movement. Modern feminism places all of the onus of problems, it places the yoke of these problems on the other, on these men, the patriarchy, the this, that, and the other thing. And it's so wild, and it's so deeply ingrained in the team ideology and in the consistency bias that the people who espouse these beliefs and these ideologies cannot see reality for what it is. They genuinely see everything through the lens of this victimhood mentality. And they see everybody as the other who is oppressing them, who's stopping them. Oh, the reason I'm not a CEO is because I'm a woman. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a lazy sack of shit who doesn't do anything and got shit grades in school. Nothing to do with that. It's because of the patriarchy. Okay, but remember I said you're gonna hate me, because red pill is the same thing. Red pill is feminism for women. Andrew Tate, all that stuff, that's all feminism for women, because it does the exact same thing, because it tells you it's not your fault. It's because of society, and it hates men, and the women are awful these days, and we need to return to traditionalism, and they need to get back in the kitchen. And so it's not your fault, it's their fault. It's the same thing. So instead of spending your time thinking about those things and focusing in on those. Oh, and by the way, it's important to point out here that it doesn't matter if it's true or untrue. That literally makes no difference whatsoever. It could be 100% factually true. But so what, right? Like, oh, okay, cool. So you can't find a good girl to date, to marry, because feminism has ruined women, and the media and social media and whatever else, and this, that, and the other. Like, okay, so what? So what are you going to do? Are you going to take on another label, another mantle like MGTOW, and say, okay, well, I'm just going to be a MGTOW, and so I'm just going to ignore women and my own natural desires and urges and need for relationships entirely? Or are you going to actually take agency, take control of your life, and say, right, fuck those situations, I don't care. I'm going to take agency back and make my own decisions, make my own changes, and find my way to move forward and get better, regardless of what other people do. Because while I may not be able to control all of the outcomes, I can definitely control the inputs, the things that I do. The parts that I can control, the things that I do, the things that I think about, the ways that I act, the labels that I choose to put on myself or to not put on myself, those are all choices. So if we start viewing things through that lens, through the lens of outcome-based decisions, of seeing what actions can I take that will move me closer to my goal, regardless of ideology, regardless of labels and identity and anything like that. If I only focus on what gets me the best outcome for me, then you'll be able to actually take control of your life and start moving forward. But as long as you find yourself stuck with certain identities, stuck with certain consistencies, stuck with these labels, stuck with these groups who define how you think, who assign your thoughts and beliefs to you, as long as you're stuck in that, you can't control what you're actually doing and who you're actually going to meet and how your life is going to turn out. So this is why you need to take radical responsibility. Now, some of you guys may have heard of this idea. The idea of radical responsibility was popularized by Jocko Willink, and it's certainly been used and repurposed by a lot of other different influencers and self-help people online as well. But the most important part of this is just that you take control of all of the inputs, that you say, okay, if I'm looking to create this outcome, I may or may not succeed, but these are the inputs that I think I can use to achieve this goal. And I'm going to try that. And if I don't get the outcome that I wanted, that's my fault because I didn't put the right inputs in. But the important thing is you are taking ownership of it. You're taking responsibility of it. So for those of you who say like, oh, I really want to get a girlfriend, I really want to meet a great girl or whatever. Okay, cool. So what are the inputs that you're putting in to make this thing happen? And if you aren't currently getting the outcome that you want, what are you changing about your inputs? Because obviously the ones that you're doing now are not working. So we need to make some changes on the input side to try and achieve the outcome that we desire. Once you just accept it's all your fault, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah, sure. Social media. Yeah. Tinder, online dating. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm short. I'm not muscular enough. I'm not. Okay. All right. Cool. So what? Take ownership of it and say, cool. Then I'm just going to play with the inputs and keep testing, keep experimenting until I get the outcome that I want. And then I'll know how to repeat that process to get the outcome that I want. So all of that, honestly, I truncated that down into a 16-minute lecture. That should have been a 40-minute lesson on its own. But I had to say all of this so that we can now get to the meat of today's lesson on how exactly, step by step, to unfuck your life. And it's going to get a little bit more fun. That top part was pretty serious and pretty weird, but let's have a quick cheers. Cheers, boys. And move into the step-by-step part, because we're going to be changing parts of your identity. We're going to be changing parts of your labels, and you just needed to be okay with that from the get-go. So the first thing, I just saw my notes to myself on the board. I try to write them in a way that reminds me what to say, but it's not so distracting that it makes you read while you're watching or while you're listening, right? I want you focusing in with me, basically having a conversation back and forth with me. And so I write in kind of a weird esoteric way. So the one that I wrote here, envision world peace. I like this saying. And one of the reasons that I like this saying so much, I saw this on a bumper sticker back in 1992 or 93 or something. I was quite young, and I remember seeing this and thinking that it was funny and thinking, well, I just thought it was funny at the time because I was, 8. But now whenever I look at it, I see something different. I see that if everything is subjective, even the words that you hear are not necessarily objective. So when people say envision world peace, and you say, oh yeah, world peace, I see it. Yeah, that's cool. You can choose what to see and how to view the possible future. You can choose what to envision. You can choose what to think and what to feel. So with the subjectivity of reality that we've talked about before, let's take a completely wild view. Let's take a completely wild view of the future. So today is January 4th, 2024. By this time, on January 4th, 2025, what do you want your life to look like? Let's think about some things that you would like to change, some things that maybe are problems now, or some things that you want to improve on, some things that you want to get better with, some things that you want to change in your life, some things that you need to unfuck. Very specifically, let's think of the 3 biggest things that you feel like would make the biggest difference in your life. Now, that might mean getting into better shape. That might mean getting a girlfriend, getting a serious relationship. That might mean getting into a higher income situation, or improving your business, or growing your personal life and your networking circles, or whatever it is. Whatever the 3 biggest changes are that you feel like would just completely turn your life around. Choose those 3 things. Those are the wee 3 keys. The 3 keys to make where you are now look like absolute shit compared to where you will be in exactly 1 year's time. So once you have those 3 things in your mind, we need to figure out first, actually, we need to figure out a few things. But the first thing that we need to figure out is, in order to reach this goal, in order to be successful in this thing, whatever that thing is, what would be a level of activity, or what would be an action, which if I did that, it would be unreasonable for me to fail? So, for example, if I said, I want to go on a date with an 8 or above. Okay, cool. Let's just use that as an example. Then if I wanted to go on a date with an 8 or above, what actions would I need to take to make failure unreasonable? Like, there's just no statistic probability that that would happen. And we can be stupid with this, as because we're not yet considering reality. We're not yet thinking about any of that. First, we're just thinking, what actions would I take that would make failure unreasonable? And if that's the case, I want to go on a date with somebody who's an 8 or higher. Okay, cool. If I did 100 approaches a day, it would be unreasonable for me to go the whole year without finding success with at least one 8 or higher, right? So now I realize that 100 approaches a day is in and of itself unreasonable. However, it's important for us to define something of like, okay, this is way over the line. If we did that, then almost certainly we would succeed with a 99 point whatever percent probability. So as long as we know that, then we know that success is possible. That failure at a certain point of action, failure is literally unreasonable. There's no statistical chance that we will fail at this thing. This is important because it means that your goals are within reach. Even if that action itself is unreasonable and unattainable, that's okay, because we understand that success is not impossible, right? It's just a matter of what would we have to do. Now, it might mean, okay, well, I have to quit my job and I have to just approach 24/7 all day long. Like, okay, but it's technically possible. So anything is technically possible. We have to accept it. So that helps us to keep within the realm of within the next year, this thing could happen, right? So if I said I want to become president of the United States within the next year, there's literally not a set of actions that would get me to that goal. So that's why it's important for us to say, whatever the goal is, we need to have the unreasonable standard of, if I did these things, it would be unreasonable for me not to succeed at the goal. Okay, cool. So we're working within the realm of reality. That's good. That means that the goals are within reach. Now, we need to dig down to the roots of the problem. What is currently stopping you from getting there? What's standing in the way of you doing the actions that you feel like you need to do in order to be wildly successful at whatever this goal is? Because until now, you haven't reached the goal. Why not? What is stopping you from doing those things to reach the goal? So whatever it is, and we need to be realistic here. We need to be completely honest and embrace realism here, because for me, something like, okay, cool. I'm not very fit. I'm not in great physical condition, right? Okay, I know that. I need to change that. What would be my unreasonable metric for success, right? If I wanted to say, okay, by this time next year, I want to have a 6-pack and I want to have arms that make Julia swoon with jealousy or something like that. Okay, well, if I were to go to the gym 2 times a day, 6 to 7 days a week, that would be within the realm of possibility. If I'm doing an hour to an hour and a half set each time, okay, technically possible. Again, not realistically possible. So what's stopping me, right? And I could say like, oh, well, time, I don't have very much time. Usually kind of a bullshit excuse though, right? If we're being entirely honest, because I could make the time, right? I could make the time. It's an issue of priorities. So whenever I'm saying like, okay, well, I don't go to the gym because what? Because what? And be realistic. I don't go to the gym because I'm lazy. I'm lazy about it. I hate doing it, right? I like being at the gym when I'm there, but You know what I hate? I hate getting up and walking to the gym. My apartment, some of you have been here, right? Like Coot, you've been here. And my apartment is on the top of a hill. And the gym that we signed up for is way down at the bottom of the hill. And even though walking up and down that hill is nothing compared to the exercise done in the gym, in my mind, that feels like such a fucking walk, such a hike. Oh my God, drag my ass all the way down the hill and then exercise and then drag my ass all the way back up the hill. And I don't want to do it. And so the honest answer, the realistic answer is I'm lazy. Okay. And that's okay. We're not assigning judgment or anything here. We're just talking about what are the root causes of why we haven't done it yet. And then we get to the next question of what's stopping you from making that change, from getting past that thing. So what's stopping me from saying like, you know what, fuck it. I'm sick of being a fat ass. And so I'm just going to have to barrel through it and go on about my way. What is stopping you? Now, maybe for some people, maybe it's something like, it's a time constraint of, so doing 100 approaches a day would be constrained by time, obviously, right? Or maybe there's something that you want to do, but there's a financial constraint. My goal is to move to another country. Maybe you're trying to move to Korea. Maybe you're like Paul and you're trying to figure out how you can get a long-term visa to move here. Maybe. So it might be a financial constraint. It might be a government-related constraint. It might be anything else, right? But figure out, honestly and realistically, what exactly is stopping me. That if this thing were taken away, if this thing were changed, that I would make that change and I would start doing this action today. This is why it's important to be realistic about it, because for a lot of goals, people will come up with excuses that aren't actually the real reason. So, for example, how many people have you seen who get like exercise equipment at home? Because they're like, oh, well, you know, the gym is too far and it's too inconvenient. But if I had it at home, then I would be able to do it, right? But that's not the root problem. The root problem is the laziness, right? They just don't want to do it, right? Which I understand. I get it, right? Me too. I know. But it's important that we're honest about it and that we understand the root causes, because this is where we move on to the fun parts, to how to make your changes without willpower. So the first thing that we need to talk about here is the fact that free will and willpower don't really exist in the way that we think they do. We imagine that free will is you have a set of choices and you can make whatever decisions you want in front of you. And to the best of my experience and understanding of the world around me, that doesn't really exist. It kind of does, kind of. But willpower is a fickle bitch. There's no question about it. And that's if it even really exists, right? So if you want to test this theory in just a thought experiment, right? Let's just do this as the thought experiment. Let's say that Lady North has told me, all right, Papa Jack, you can go out with the guys, but you can't drink beer, okay? And you can't, nothing else either, right? You can't drink any alcohol. Okay. And I say, all right, I have willpower. I have free will. I can choose not to do this. But every one of my friends is going to, every time that they get up to go get a new drink, is going to offer me, Jack, do you want a beer? Do you want something to drink? Can I get you something? So they're offering me free beers. Now, in this thought experiment, because we're just doing free will and willpower, I understand what I am supposed to do. How long do you think it would take before I give in and I say, fine, fuck it. One beer won't hurt. But then once I've had one beer, then it goes off the rails, right? Serious question, though. In this thought experiment of yours, so Coot, I know that you're there. I want you to imagine that I'm trying my absolute best and I'm using all of my free will and all of my willpower. we all know that I'm not making it the whole night without having a drink, right? If I'm going out to the bar, if I'm putting myself in that place, I understand I don't have the willpower to not drink the beer. That isn't really a thing that exists because you're a complex system of experiences, of thoughts, of emotions, of present and past feelings, and all this stuff. And your body is going to revert to, first of all, what it knows, because consistency bias, right? And so I would justify that in my mind. I would absolutely justify it in my mind at the time of saying, like, well, you don't send Jack to a bar with his friends and expect him to not drink beer, right? Because everybody knows my identity, my labels, my consistency bias, that I'm a drinker, I'm an alcoholic. That's just what's to be expected, right? Okay, so if I wanted to make that change, if I wanted to stop drinking, that would be an important part of my identity that I would need to let go of, right? But the point here is that the free will and willpower argument doesn't really hold water. You don't really have that kind of that willpower to do the thing or to not do the thing, whatever change it is you're trying to make. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to choose one of the three keys that we chose earlier. We chose three things that are going to make the biggest impact on your life between now and January 4th of 2025, right? And you're going to choose the one that you feel is going to give you the highest impact return, the biggest change on your life, whether that's making more money or getting fit or getting into a better relationship or whatever it is. You're just going to choose the one thing that you feel is going to be your highest output for lowest input, right? It's going to require the least amount of effort or change or willpower, and it's going to give us the greatest outsized return. That's the one that we want to focus in on first. Then we need to engineer convenience. The reality is that the way that our brains work is we don't act based on what's best for us. We act on what's most convenient to us. We are wired to seek efficiency, to seek convenience, to seek situations that are comfortable, that are easy, that are predictable, that we can follow through with, that we can continue with without any resistance or with minimal resistance. So what we want to do is we want to engineer a situation where the action we want ourselves to take is more convenient than the action that we don't want to take. For example, if you're going on a diet, then people will say like, oh, well, stop eating junk food. Okay, but that's really hard, right? That's using willpower, a lot of willpower. What if instead of saying don't eat junk food, we said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to buy junk food when we grocery shop. So we won't have any junk food in the house. Now, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you feel like, oh, I want a snack, I want a candy bar or something like that, if you want to, you can get up, get dressed, go out into the cold, go down to the convenience store, buy your candy bar, and come back and have it. That's okay. That's not against the rules because we're engineering convenience and inconvenience. We're not setting hard set rules of you must do this and you must not do this, right? We're not making commandments because commandments require willpower. Instead, we're engineering a system where it's easier for you to do the right thing. So if you want to, you can go out and get the candy bar in the middle of the night in the freezing cold. But when you were grocery shopping, you thought ahead. So you bought some nuts. So you bought some fruit. So you bought some other snacks that you can have at home. Maybe some peanut butter, right? Anything like that. You bought other snacks that you can have at home that are healthier for you. So you engineer a situation where the healthy option is convenient, but the unhealthy option is very inconvenient. If you want to, you can do it, but it's very inconvenient compared to the healthy option. And what this is going to do is maybe a couple of times you're going to go for the inconvenient option, but you're going to train yourself over time. And you're going to develop a habit, or in this case, a taste for the healthier snack. If you cut out one snack by making it so inconvenient, or one aspect of your diet, let's say, by making it so inconvenient, then you're actually going to start to lose the cravings for it. If you cut out, let's say, like sweetened sugars or corn syrup things, sodas, something like that, okay, then you'll lose the craving for it over a little bit of time. Now, it's going to take a couple of months to actually completely lose it, but the most important thing is that you're training yourself to take the better option because it's that much more convenient. So you'll do it more often because that is what your brain rewards you for doing. This is also useful in other situations. You might be wondering to yourself, okay, well, Papa Jack, how can you engineer convenience with something that you're trying to add rather than something that you're trying to take away? And that's a perfectly good question. It's a little bit more difficult. But what you can do is you can find a way to replace certain things, or you can take certain habits. Maybe there's something that you're like, you know what, I probably really shouldn't do this. Maybe like Netflix or something like that. Let's use Netflix as an example. And I want to, every time I sit down, instead of watching Netflix, I want to practice the guitar more. You know, you can't really see him back there because of the board, but I want to practice the guitar every time I sit down on the sofa instead of watching Netflix. Then what do I need to do here? I need to make the behavior I want to change, watching Netflix, less convenient. So I can do that easily by, this is a great one. This would absolutely fuck my Netflix watching in an instant. If this were a habit of mine that I needed to break, this would break it instantly. I have Netflix connected to my TV, right? So it's not connected through my computer or anything else. It's connected through the TV. This is important because it makes it even less convenient. If every time I finished watching Netflix, I logged out of Netflix, just a couple of button presses, ding, 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 log out, then anytime I want to watch Netflix, I would need to get back on there and sit down with the remote and type everything back in again. And it would be incredibly inconvenient. Now, the reality is 4 or 5 minutes, maybe, but it creates such a barrier in your mind that this level of inconvenience, you would not want to do it. So that's how I would make watching Netflix inconvenient. Then what would I do to play guitar more instead of just like, okay, well, I'll just fuck around on my phone? Then what I would do is I would set my guitar on the guitar stand, just like it is now, and I would set it over there near the couch. So every time that I come and I sit down on the couch now, instead of watching Netflix, my brain is incentivized to start playing the guitar, start practicing, right? And it doesn't have to be anything serious because we aren't focused on extreme results at this point. Right now, all that we're doing is we're trying to build a good habit and lose a bad habit, or more importantly, in this case, add in a new habit, and in the diet case, remove a bad habit, right? So that's something that we can do to make the behavior we want to replace less convenient, and make the behavior we want to replace it with more convenient, right? So in my personal case, one of the things that I've started doing is, you guys know probably, I've talked about this quite a bit on the channel, but I love playing video games. I play PlayStation like a motherfucker. Oh, I love it. So to that point, one of the things that I've started doing is I went out to our storage room and I pulled out the box for my PlayStation. And now every time that I finish playing, I take it, I unplug it, I pull out all the cables, wrap them up, and I put it back in the box. And then I put the box back out into the storage room. Total time that the process takes is about 3 minutes, maybe. But it makes it extremely inconvenient to want to start playing PlayStation. Because now I realize, well, I kind of want to play a game, but in order to do that, I'm going to need to go out there into the storage room and pull the box out and then take it out into the living room and then unpack it and hook it up and plug it all in. And again, only about 3 to 4 minutes. But that's not how my brain works. So instead, we're going to use our faulty wiring as an advantage. The fact that your brain sees a 3 to 4 minute inconvenience as earth-shattering and habit-changing is useful in this instance, because we can use that to better train you to get the results that you want. Now, another thing that you can do if you're trying to add in a habit is you can pair pleasure with progress. So one of the other ways that you can do this. So again, let's use the video game thing, because we'll just use me as an example, since you guys aren't really giving me much in the comments right now, which is a little sad, but that's okay. So in my situation where it's like, okay, cool, I want to lose weight and I want to exercise more. Okay, if I'm choosing this as my first goal that I want to achieve, then, and this is why it's important that we only choose one goal, right? Because we're not trying to change everything all at once. We're only trying to change one thing, build one habit, or remove one habit. That's all that we're doing for right now. So let's say for me that we are, forget the packing up the PlayStation thing, right? We're not dealing with that right now. Right now, we're just trying to build a habit of exercise for me. Okay, cool. If I'm trying to build a habit of exercise for myself, I know that signing up for a gym membership, oh, fuck, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. History shows that I'm not going to do it. Let's see here. You're 3/4 asleep, Coot? Well, get yourself a glass of gin or something. There. I want to be less messy. Okay, right. And that's fine. And we can get to that in a second. Let me finish this example real quick. And we can work through this. So for me, if I want to find a way to make myself exercise more, I know that signing up for a gym membership isn't going to do it. I know that, to me, having spent the money on a gym membership is not enough pain to make me actually start going consistently. It just isn't. So how can I do this instead? Well, here's a fun thing. This is a rule that I actually implemented for myself starting back about mid-December or so 2-3 weeks ago. What I do is whenever I'm playing a video game, if there's ever a cutscene or a long stretch of voice dialogue, I actually pull up the sheet that Paul sent me a couple of months ago for the home workout routine, and I start going through some of those sets. So I can do some body squats, or I can do some push-ups, or I can do some planks, or I can do sit-ups or something like that, while I'm also watching the cutscene in the game, or I'm following along with the long dialogue. So I can pair the activity that I want to start doing with an activity that I already like doing. I like playing games. So what if we can add in something that I want to add into my life? So in this case, it would be exercise. Now, you can do this with just about anything. If you want to start taking more walks, right? Then find something that you enjoy doing that is the amount of time that the taking walks would be. So if you want to start walking every day for an hour, then here's what you could do. You could go back and re-listen to one episode of Live with Jack every day for the next 3 months. And as you're listening to it, you're just listening and you're walking along and you're just having a walk and having a listen and having a laugh and joining in with us as we go through this. But you're also starting to build the habit in with something that you already like doing. So you can pair pleasure with progress, finding a way to move forward with that. All right, now, Coot, for your situation, I want to be less messy. We need to define more what that means. What exactly do you mean by less messy? Do you mean you want to clean your room every day? Is that the goal, that your room is clean every single day? Or is it that you need to like scrub your balls a little bit more, or what do we mean by less messy? Do you want to stop getting food in your beard, or what's the goal here? Because if we can define what the goal is, then we understand what we're looking for. Now, it doesn't have to be a hard and fast goal, right? Because we aren't exactly goal setting. So in the case of the exercise thing, I'm not trying, at least not right now, I'm not trying to lose, or I'm not trying to lose 30 pounds or have a six pack or anything like that. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build the habit now that will allow me to follow through and have some of those goals in the future. This is why we're trying to build habits, so that we don't need willpower, because you don't need willpower for the things that are habits, right? Like, it doesn't take willpower to brush your teeth in the morning. At least I hope not. It's just a habit. It's just a thing that you do every single day. Doesn't take any willpower because it doesn't take any thinking. It's just the thing that you do. Let's see here. Coot says, okay, your room. You want your room to be less messy. So you want your room to be clean all the time. Are we looking to see? The problem is that I haven't been to your place, so I don't know how bad it is. But if it's something like the trash piles up, and so you end up having to, it collects, and then you have to take it all down at once, like after months of shit just piling up or something like that. If that's the case, right, then what you could do is you would find a very low effort habit that you could build in, like, oh, every time I leave my home, I just grab one thing, or I just grab a handful of stuff, and I just bring it down and throw it into the garbage or something like that. Or fight my ADHD and stop storing everything in a pile. Oh, my man. Me too. Like, I get it. And this is a weird one, because organization works differently to different people. And so things that look like they make sense to me look messy to someone else. Where, like, as I'm looking at the desk underneath the cameras right now, we have like a few different bottles of things that I need for my vape juice mixing. We've got some scales. We've got the wigs that I use for filming. We've got literally a dozen different markers and erasers over here. We have a few different things that I use, all of them on a regular basis, and I need access to all of them. But anybody who walked in here would be like, your desk is a fucking mess. Like, yes, but it's a mess in a way that I know where everything is, and I know why it's in exactly this place. And as soon as, in my mind, as soon as it's no longer needed in this place, then we can put it somewhere else. But I get it. We might put that off a little bit, right? And so if that's the case, if it's something like, actually, I say that as I'm looking right here, like, I have a few things over here on the side of the desk that, like, I don't need these here right now. I don't need these here. Actually, I've stopped using these things about a month ago. I don't need them anymore. And I haven't felt the urge, the need, the inclination, motivation to actually just put them somewhere else, right? If that's the case, then what you might want to do is something like, all right, cool. How can we pair an annoyance with something pleasurable or something fun? By the way, Crow, good to see you here, buddy. Good to see you. So if we wanted to pair that with something a little bit more fun or a little bit more enjoyable, then what you might do is you might say something like, every Saturday evening, like 7 p.m., I'm going to have a pre-game cleaning party, right? And so I'm going to, maybe I'll have a couple of boys over, have a couple of friends over, and be like, by the way, come over and we're going to have some drinks here and we're going to talk. And while we're doing that, I'm going to clean up and organize my stuff because I enjoy having the drinks and I enjoy being able to talk to you. And my ADD mind needs something going on so that it doesn't have to deal with the painful boredom and tedium of cleaning and organizing. And so you can pair it with something fun. So whether that's, Saturday night pre-gaming before you guys go out for the night, or if it's like Tuesday night poker night or whatever it is. And then at the start of the poker night, it's like, all right, cool. Everybody comes over. And while we're all talking, we're getting warmed up. Then also I'm going to clean my place. It depends on what you find most enjoyable. Because obviously I'm saying these things from my perspective. My two favorite things in the world are drinking and talking to friends, right? Well, I mean, there are other things, but my two favorite things in the world that have all my clothes on are drinking and talking to friends. And so, to me, if I wanted to make that a habit, I would try to pair it with something like that I really enjoy doing. And I'm going to have to kidnap Sabi. Yeah, that's fine, right? Like, kidnap Sabi, bring him over and be like, because seriously, and this is an important thing, and we're actually going to get to this a little bit later with the creative problem solving, using your friends and using the community to help you is absolutely a worthwhile strategy. Because one of the really cool things about our Discord community, especially, is that everybody in there is really nice and everybody is cool. Everybody wants you to succeed. We don't have any bucket crabs in there. There's nobody in there who's trying to hold you back or bring you back down or stop you from getting what you want. We don't let those people like that in. So if you talk to Sabi and you say, look, Sabi, I need help with this. You don't have to do any of the cleaning. That's not what I need. I need to build this habit. And in order to build this habit, I need to pair it with something that I enjoy doing for a while. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to come over and I'll buy us a couple of drinks and we can sit around and we can have drinks and you're going to talk to me and I'm just going to clean up and organize my place while we talk. And we're just going to do this every however often, right? If you need to do it, if you are just like a crazy mess and you want to do it every single week, then do it every single week. Or if you do it every other week, or if you do it once a month, or whatever it is, however you want to do it to build the habit. But I'm also not entirely certain that it might be. I could be wrong. I'm not entirely certain that that would be your highest leverage, like biggest change for your life output. But it might be, because like I said, I haven't seen your place. The grossness of your place might be so wildly out of proportion that would literally be better than any other change you could make. It's totally possible. This is up to you. So you're going to pair pleasure with progress, use the faulty wiring in your brain as an advantage, make things inconvenient or more convenient as you want them to be done more or less often. Now, the next part, step 3, adaptive iteration. All of this stuff is about experimentation and finding what works for you. So you're going to have to try some different things, maybe. And Coot, this is right up your alley. It's literally the scientific method. Start with your hypothesis. I think that these inputs will create this outcome. Okay, cool. The inputs are not creating the outcome and they don't seem to be getting me any closer. Let's make some changes to it. Let's see if we can figure out why this thing didn't work. Or maybe it's something like, okay, these inputs worked for a time, but then I found myself on the hedonic treadmill and I got used to the thing that I had been punishing myself with, right? So I got used to packing and unpacking my PlayStation every single time. And so now it's just part of getting it set up. and my brain got used to it. So now it doesn't feel punishing. So I need to find a way to make it less convenient still. I need to find a way to make the action that I wanted to do more convenient. I need to find a way to make it more engaging, more interesting. If I can find a way to put myself in the situation that most often leads to my success and away from the situation that I'm trying to get rid of, then that is a success, right? Because we're trying to build the habit here. We're not trying for overnight success. We're not trying to all at once quit all of our bad habits and start 1,000 good habits. Because if you do that, it's absolutely not going to work. Like there is about a 0% chance that that actually works. And that's why whenever people come up with New Year's resolutions, right? They have a list of like 5 New Year's resolutions. This year, I'm going to stop sucking dick at San Francisco truck stops. Oh, shit. Well, there's another truck stop. I know I said I wouldn't, but maybe I'm good for 2 weeks. And then they fall back off it because they're trying to do too many things at once. And so they end up sucking dick at San Francisco truck stops again. And so instead, what you do is you just choose one thing to change. Just one. Whatever you feel is going to be your highest leverage, best outcome situation to change. And then you don't try to go all in on it, right? So if I'm trying to exercise more and lose weight, I don't say, all right, my first goal is to lose weight, is to exercise more. So I'm going to start going to the gym 6 days a week, every single week, no excuses, no matter what. If I do that, that's a plan, that's a system that can break very easily. Because the second that I don't go, then it starts to become, well, I fucking knew it. I knew it. I didn't believe in myself anyway. And then it's broken. Instead, if I create a system of building the habit in, of starting to do something, of, like I said earlier, every time that there's a cutscene in a video game, every time there's a long stretch of dialogue, I'm doing 10 push-ups. I'm doing a plank for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, right? If I start building that in, then it's not out of the way. It's not annoying, right? Like, it's not exactly pleasurable, but doing it with the video game makes it like, oh, that more than makes up for it. So it's good. And then I now have the habits and the confidence and the ability to start doing more exercise, to start building in more exercise. If you try to go from 0 to 100 all at once, then of course you're going to fail. But if you take it one step at a time and seriously just build it in as basic habits, as low-level habits that require as little willpower as possible. Right? Because that's why we're making things inconvenient and more convenient, because we're trying to eliminate the need for willpower, eliminate the need for feeling like it or whatever. So test with that a little bit. See what works for you. See what kinds of pairings you might find. So for you, Coot, maybe cleaning your room and drinking and talking with Sabi doesn't work very well for you, but that's okay. Because you can experiment with it. You can test it and see what works. You need to be adaptive to it and try different things to see what's actually going on. So you want to understand, first of all, that the process of trying to make these changes is the success. That is the success. Not losing 20 pounds, not permanently having a clean home. That's not the success. That's not the goal. The goal is building the habit. The process of building the habit is the success. So if you're following through on the process, if you're trying to do the things, then even if you fail at the actual habit, that's okay, because that just means, okay, cool. So I need to change some of the inputs. That's still part of the success, because the experiment is just, if I do these things, does it start to build this habit? Building the habit itself is not the success. Finding the way to build the habit is the success, right? So the process of doing that thing, of testing different things, of not just saying, fuck it. I am going to go back to my identity. I'm going to go back to my consistency. I'm going to go back to my labels. I am not a person who cleans his room. I am a guy with a messy apartment. That's my label. That's my identity. Fuck it. That's what failure looks like. But as long as you're still trying and experimenting to find something that does work for you, and you're actively trying, then that is success. That's what this looks like. Because our goal, remember, from fucking 40 minutes ago or however long it's been, remember, our goal is over the course of this year, over the course of one whole year, is to change 3 things, right? We're only trying to change 3 things. So if you can build a habit that helps you change one of those things, and it takes you a month of experimenting to figure it out, and a month to actually build the habit in so that it's just natural and it's just the thing that you do every single time. Or maybe it takes you 2 months. You're still a month ahead of the curve to make 3 changes, right? And that's if you're splitting it up into thirds, into 4 months, 4 months, 4 months. So just start with it. Start with the process of finding a way to build the habit in. And then once you have that first habit completely built in and ingrained, it's just a thing that you do. It's just a thing that you do. You don't think about it. You don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about feeling like it or not feeling like it today or anything like that. It's just a thing that you do. It's just the habit. Once you have that built in, then you can add in other habits, right? You can work on the second one. So remember, out of the 3 things, you're going to pick the second highest producing, highest leverage thing on your list. And then you're going to start finding a way to build that habit in. Now, if you can find a way to integrate those habits and make them work together, then that's even better. Because if you're building good habits that compound on each other, that work well together, right? Like if you're starting off by going on a diet, by saying, I'm going to get rid of snacks, right? So I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to get rid of all the junk food snacks in my house, right? Okay, cool. And then if the next habit you want to build is, I want to become a better cook. Wow, what a coincidence. Those go hand in hand, right? All right, let's have a look at this. Okay, so Crow says, for me, my first goal is to get back into shape and lose some weight. Okay, cool. Then let's actually analyze this real quick. Let's hit this up. So, first of all, why are you, first, what would be an unreasonable level of action that would virtually guarantee that you succeed at this thing, right? Now, depending on how in shape and how much weight you're talking about, I have no idea. Maybe you're talking about dropping 30 pounds and being like a fucking Auschwitz victim or something. Or maybe you just mean like, oh no, like I want to lose probably about 10 pounds of fat and like get back a little bit of muscle or something, like whatever it is there. What would be an unreasonable level of activity that if you did it, okay, competitive for athletics. So for me, I'm going to be doing a workout program with Paul starting next week. Okay. That can work. But make sure that whatever it is, it's something that requires as little willpower as possible. Because anything that requires willpower, your brain is going to, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It's like trying to wake up every single morning at 6 a.m. If you want to start waking up every single morning at 6 a.m. for no reason, like not for work or for anything, just because like, oh, well, I just want to start waking up earlier. Okay. That's absolutely pure willpower at the beginning, unless you find a way to pair it with something else, right? So you find something that you love. Maybe you're like, you know what I fucking love? I love Snickers bars. And so I'm going to start waking up every morning at 6 a.m. But if I wake up past 6:05, like if that's the time I get out of bed is past 6:05, I don't get a Snickers bar today. But if I get up and I'm out of bed by 6:05, then I get a Snickers bar in the morning or whatever it is for you, right? You find something that rewards you. And here's the fun thing is that the rewards don't have to be good for you, right? They don't have to be good for you. What they have to be is they have to be genuinely rewarding, right? I'm keeping you awake, Jack. Okay, well, I hope you mean that in a good way, right? Like I'm so fun and entertaining that you're like, yeah, I'm really getting into this. So that's why I'm staying awake. Not like I'm trying to force you to stay awake. But Anyway, whatever you're doing, Jake, with the workout program, make sure that it's something that is minimal willpower and is very easy to follow up on and has a reward system in place, right? Any mixture of those things is great. And if you can hit all of those things, that it's convenient, that it requires no willpower, that it's fun to do, and it has a reward system in place, then like, oh, you're going to kill it, right? Because you would want to do that thing over other things. Make the stream earlier, Coot. First of all, no. But second, I can't. I actually can't. Like, I don't have time for it earlier. I got home at about 9:30, and so like this is what you get, right? That's why it's always kind of like a rush, last minute duct tape production, because this is what happens, right? Anyway, let me finish up these last things, and then we can move on into the Q&A section. So one of the issues that you might run into is you might run into being able to figure out a way to pair your goal with something that is rewarding or something that is fun, and understand that it is absolutely possible to find a way to create a rewarding situation, or to create a fun situation where you enjoy doing the thing. But right now, what you're missing is imagination. So I write down your imagination is your limit, which I remember in elementary school, they would have posters hanging up like this all over the place. It's like, the sky's the limit. And if you can believe it, you can achieve it and shit like that. It's supposed to be motivational. Here's the thing. This isn't supposed to be motivational. This is literally a limit that you're running into where you're like, I cannot imagine something. Fuck, that's my limit. I can't do the thing because I can't imagine it. That's okay. Here's what I do whenever I'm running low on imagination, or I just need some shit, or I have writer's block, or I can't think of a stream topic or whatever. Take a walk in absolute tech, whatever. No tech. Take a walk with no phone, no podcast, no music, nothing. Just take a walk. It usually actually only takes about 20 or 30 minutes. Because in the absence of other stimuli, your brain just starts running on its own, starts coming up with all sorts of stuff. And so if you're trying to think of a way, trying to imagine a way that you can pair whatever. I want to quit smoking with, I really enjoy, I don't know, watching fucking hentai or something like that, right? I don't know how you would pair those things together, but that's because my imagination is my limit, and it's not something I need to think about putting together. So whatever your situation is, just take a walk and try to think. Like, imagine that there are no barriers and you can just let your brain run wild. How can I possibly pair these things? Or maybe there's a third thing that I can pair between them, some kind of interlocking thing, some sort of reward or punishment system, something else that I can do to make this more convenient, or this more fun, or this easier, something like that. But use your imagination to come up with some different things. And we talked about creative problem solving, using the community, using your friends as an impetus to make it better, to fix things, to, get on a little bit more and stuff like that. And the last thing that I wanted to bring up was this quote that I heard earlier today. And I heard this from Louise Perry. And she said that she had learned it from some winemakers. And this is really useful to us. Tradition is just an experiment that worked. The same thing can be true for you and for the habits that you're trying to build and for the things that you're trying to do, the changes that you're trying to make in 2024. So if you can figure out what exactly your 3 biggest things are that would give you the highest leverage returns, choose one of them and find a way to start doing it without willpower, and then just view the experimentation and the implementation of the system into you do you know about Louise Perry? Yeah. I'll get back into that in a minute. And then if you can figure out that, or if you can implement in your mind the idea that the process is the success. And as long as you're working and experimenting on implementing that new habit into your life, regardless of the actual far end outcomes, we don't care about those yet. We're just building the habit in. And if you do that, if you can actually take the 3 things that you want to change most in your life, and if you can build those in as regular habits for you throughout this year, and this is actually a really simple process, right? Nothing here was hard. Nothing here was out of the ordinary. Nothing here was crazy. All that this is doing is building in 3 simple habits over time. And if you do this, your life will look radically different by this same time next year. And Coot, I'm glad that you like the quote about tradition, because that's what we're building, right? Whenever we're building habits, we're building personal traditions. And so if a tradition is just an experiment that worked, keep on experimenting, because the process is the success. Now, with all of that said, and goodness, that was quite a lesson. 1 hour and 10 minutes. It's almost like towards the end there, I was kind of vamping, waiting on something to happen. It's time now for our live Q&A section. Would you like to bring yourself in, Paul? How are you doing, buddy? Oh, I need to fix something.
I have to unmute myself.
Okay, yeah. All right, good. That's cool, man. Good night, and thank you for joining and sticking around as long as you did. I appreciate it, buddy. You're a trooper. Okay, let's bring this down a little bit. Oh, no, too far. Unstable. What a piece of shit. This, my old chair broke. And so for my Christmas gift, we got a new chair. And it's really fucking comfortable and super cushiony, but I can't stand the tripod on it. It doesn't balance on it. All right, well.
Isn't the tripod tall enough to set it on the ground?
Let's try. It kind of is. It doesn't balance on the ground either. Fuck it. We'll roll with this. It's gonna look like a point of view shot, like the people watching are giving me a blowjob. This feels. I feel like we can come up with a better solution somehow. By the way, for those of you who are in the YouTube chat still, oh, there we go. That'll do. For those of you who are in the YouTube chat still, tell us what some of your goals are. Tell us what's going on with you, or any questions that you have as well. We can go through those together. How are you doing, Paul? First off,
I'm doing great. I came back to Oslo last night.
mm-hmm.
It's cold as fuck over here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went from Bergen, which is like a mild -2 to 0 degrees, and then I got over here to Oslo, which today is -18. And tomorrow going down to -25. So
wait, so
gonna
you're
stay
telling
indoors.
me that countries next to the North Pole are cold in January?
Yes, I'm saying that. Surprise, surprise.
What? I personally, I blame the patriarchy.
Yeah, and luckily for us, actually, this is caused by Siberian winds that makes it so cold.
That's what we blame too. I like this. This is fun. It's very Cold War-esque of just be like, I'm not really sure, but fuck it, blame the Russians.
Yeah, for some reason, whenever it becomes really, really cold here, it's usually wind streams that comes from Siberia.
I got you.
And then I got myself a new apartment.
I saw. Did you see the big problem with it?
Yeah, I saw the big problem with it.
Paul, how did you not fucking notice? It's a massive problem. Like, that's bigger than termites. That's bigger than having a feminist living next door.
The only problem with the potential solution is the visa, right?
I mean, there are solutions. There are, one might say, final solutions to such a problem.
Yeah, there might not be many good ones right now.
Oh yeah, I didn't say anything to the quality, but there are solutions. Anyway, let's jump into the Q&A. So what do we have on today for the questions?
Yeah, so the first one here is, how do I make approaching a part of my daily routine?
How do you make approaching part of your daily routine? Okay. Actually, Paul, I'm going to let you field this one first. And I need to get a new beer because I've been talking for over an hour straight.
Okay, so
you can tell about like how you did this and things that you did. And I'm going to get a fresh beer. I'll be right back.
So one of the first things you have to do is you have to set your goals, right? So when you create goals, make goals that you think are viable. And then if you actually reach them, increase them. So what I did when I started out was I said that every time I was living in Chilem at the time, so every single time I would go out of my house. So if I was going to the bus, to the subway, to the restaurant for dinner, if I left my front door before I could go into the place where I was going, I had to talk to at least one other person, which means I had to actually talk to someone. And that's not always as easy if you live in a little bit deserted place and stuff like this. But for me, living so centrally, it's like, okay, I'm going to make it a goal from my front door to the bus stop, or from my front door to the restaurant or to the subway station. I am going to talk to someone.
Right. And importantly, I noticed that you say to someone, not I'm going to approach the hottest girl I see. Just I'm going to talk to someone, right? And
no, it's just to keep the flow going, because when if you're going to build it into the routine, you have to be willing and ready to talk to whoever is there. Is she hot? Is she hot? Is she not? Is she old? Is she legal? Like the limit starts at legal. Are there no chicks, right? Then talk to a dude. Just talk to someone. And the reason for that is you have to mentally set yourself like, whenever I go out, I will talk to someone. It just becomes a habit. Like you can't, like getting on the bus without having talked to someone feels weird. That's the point you're trying to make. And then you just have to talk to everyone.
There we go. I think what a janky fix, but I've set it up. So now it's like more straight on. But so Paul actually gave us a few things there that reiterate some of the points that I made during the stream, which is, first off, you build it in as a habit, as something that you're doing. It's not to an outcome-based goal. It's not about like, oh, I want to start approaching people so that I can get 10 numbers a week or anything like that. It's very simple, and it's just building it as a habit. Now, you can do this on a time-based habit, or you can do this on a trigger-based habit, like Paul did, where he said, every time I did this thing, that acted as a trigger. That means I now have to do my approach. And to anybody, right? I have to talk to someone, right? And it might be something about verbiage in your head, where change it to talk to someone is much less intimidating than I have to do an approach. right? So
Yeah,
that's an
because you
important
noticed that, right? I said I have to talk to someone. I don't have to approach someone. I have to talk to someone.
thing. Right. And they don't even necessarily have to talk back because, again, this isn't outcome based. This is just building in the habit, getting used to doing the thing, building up that momentum so that whenever you see someone you do want to talk to, you're not starting from zero, right? So that when you see the 10, I mean, if you think of the 10, like if we take this to exercise terms, if you think of the 10 as like a weightlifting competition, you don't go from this to a weightlifting competition, right? You build up all the things along the way of talking to everybody, of being ready for it, of doing all the stuff so that when the 10 comes along, not only are you ready for it, but it's not even that big of a deal because you've just been doing it, right? The process is the success. Another thing that he did there that I really liked is he paired pleasure with progress. He had something that he likes doing, which is going out, because you were staying in a small little rundown apartment in Shillim, right?
Yeah,
Okay, right. So you wanted to go out.
of
Good.
course.
So then you paired that with a change that you wanted to make. I want to go out. Therefore, in order for me to do the thing that I want, or while I am doing the thing that I want, I will do the thing that I want to build as a habit. Not necessarily a thing that I don't want, because you do want that, right? You want to do that habit, you want to build that habit, but it's something that you're resistant to. And so you pair it with something that you already want to do, and you make it into a rule for yourself, or you make it into something that is just part of the routine, or it's part of the habit, or you can add it into the process, or anything like that. I love all of what you said, and even though you weren't here for the lesson, you actually hit on every single part of what I talked about.
That's good.
Yeah. Now,
Maybe I've listened to you before.
maybe, maybe my, I mean, it's either one that my influence is deeper than either of us realizes, or good idea is good, and therefore the thing that works. So we both have the same good idea because good idea good, right?
Yeah.
um anyway, as to my answer to this question, as to how to build doing an approach into your life, into your daily routine, the guy who asked this question works from home, or rather he did. I think he's recently changed his job too, and now with his new job, he's going to be out and about. So like, here's the answer to your specific question, person who asked this: just fucking do it every day, right? Pair it with something. Pair it with like every day as I go to get lunch or whatever else. I can't
Yeah,
get lunch until I talk to someone.
yeah, yeah, I do the same here. Like here when I'm here in Norway, right? I do home office mostly. I can go days without going outside, but the rule is same rule as before.
Yeah,
Whenever I leave my front door, I have to talk to someone. It doesn't necessarily mean it becomes a daily routine,
yeah,
but it becomes a habit that is connected to going outside.
yeah, yeah.
So for me, it's instinctually I go outside, I have to say something to someone.
Right.
I don't need to have a conversation. Like if you're if you're very shy or like you're really just starting out, just whenever you go to work in the morning, just say good morning to everyone you pass on the road.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, and then what's gonna happen is that some one of them are gonna stop and start actually talking to you.
Yeah.
And then shit, like, oh, now I have to talk. What do I do now, right? But
Yeah.
it becomes very quickly a habit. And like, if you do this consistently for 2 weeks, you're gonna start doing it without actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
But for me, since I do that, when I lived in Chile, I had a poster hanging on my door. Remember to speak to someone.
Mm.
Literally telling me every time I go out that I have to do this thing.
that works, right? And so finding some things like that and experimenting with what works for you and what doesn't work for you, finding the parts of the process that are effective for you and your mental processes and your habits, but also the parts that aren't, and figuring out, okay, cool, I can drop this thing because this isn't having any sort of positive impact, or I can add this instead or replace it with something else, and playing with it to find something that gets you to do the action you want to be doing. As far as building approaching into your routine goes, it, actually, the building approaching into your routine is the way you would go about it would be different depending on what your goal is, right? If your goal is to break an introverted streak and just be comfortable talking to anybody, then you would focus more on just talking to people. If your goal specifically is to get better with humor, then come up with a joke and try to deliver it, 10 times in a week to 10 different people, and see if you can get better and get more laughs each time. Or if your goal is to be able to talk to, or be able to get numbers from girls or something, then you would create a different metric for building this system into your routine. It might be more difficult, but depending on what the goal is, you're aiming for different things. So it does depend on where you are in the process, what it is that you're trying to do, what kind of bad habits or bad situation you're trying to break with this new habit, right? So it's all individualized, but experiment with it and find what works. Let's move on to the next question. What you got for us, Big P?
Okay, if you want to improve, I want to improve my life, but also want to date women. How do I balance both? Or should I focus on leveling up first and then dealing with women? Yes.
I'm sorry, read that one more time for me, please.
If I want to improve my life, but also want to date women, how do I balance both? Or should I focus on leveling up first, then dealing with women? Well, I will go about it this way. If you start to date women, you are also improving your life, no?
Yeah.
Which means they're one of the same. It's two different metrics of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And like, okay, if your goal is to start working out, okay, then how do you start building a habit? Well, since you haven't worked on it forever, you can't go to the gym 7 days a week. You're gonna die, and you're gonna get burnt out, and you're gonna stop. Then connect trying to talk to women with doing the other habit that you also want to do,
Yeah.
which you can also connect to something different, right? Like, say if you want to go to the gym, you say, okay, if I'm going to go out this weekend, I have to have gone to the gym twice. And the rule is every time I go to the gym, at least I'm going to try talk to one of the PTs that are there. Like just trying to talk to someone. Because sooner than you'll realize, you'll stop talking to the PT and start talking to the girl that's working out next to you.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter that if it works out or not. That's not a goal-oriented thing, but it's gonna get you used to it. It's gonna make going to the gym more fun in the first place.
Yeah.
But it's also gonna prepare you for whenever you actually go do your reward for going to the gym, which is going out. You will also naturally be better with women because you're used to talking to them at the gym.
Mm.
And I can guarantee you, girls at the gym, their walls are higher than they are when they are drinking.
Yeah. You know, the number of people that I've heard say what I view as an absolute stupid mentality, but I've heard a bunch of people say forget women in your 20s. Don't even bother. Don't even try talking to them. Don't deal with it. Just focus on yourself, build your career, get money, get muscles, get built, and then the women will come. And like, you're technically correct, right? If you're 33 years old, let's say as an example, you're 33, you are loaded, right? Let's say that you have a mid six-figure salary through business, through investments, through whatever, right? Like you have a very solid salary or income rather, and you have a great body, then yes, women will come to you. But which women?
You have no clue how to talk to them anyway.
So, first, you have no clue how to talk to them. But second, and more importantly, which women are only attracted to you because you have money and muscles? Not the ones you actually want to meet when you're 33, right? Those are the ones that you wanted to meet when you were 23, right? Like I'm kind of being serious here. And here's something even worse and even more insidious about this idea and this really poorly thought out plan is that if the only thing that's attracting these women to you is money and muscles, you are completely replaceable. Because anybody with money and muscles can step into your shoes, right? Now, let's look at the flip side, right? Let's look at Papa Jack, who spent literally his whole 20s only focused on getting pussy, literally to the exclusion of everything else. Okay. Now, I'm also not going to recommend that. That's also not healthy. But here's the thing is that any woman who's with me is with me because she likes being with me. She's not with me for money. She's not with me for muscles, for looks, for status. None of that. In fact, I drag down all of those things on any woman that I'm with. However, she wants to be with me, and I am imminently irreplaceable. Literally nobody else can step in to fill the role, for better or worse, that I fill. So, given those two options, neither of them is good, right? You should actually be a little bit more balanced than either of those. But don't think that doing one to the exclusion of the other is great. However, if you were to do one to the exclusion of the other, what's better? To get to your 30s with money, muscles, and zero social skills, or to get to your 30s with all the social skills, all the personality, all of the interpersonal know-how, and then be like, all right, I can easily use this to figure out the rest of the things, right? Money and muscles don't help you figure out the things that you didn't know when you were 21, 22, 23. But understanding people, understanding psychology, understanding women, understanding gender mindsets, understanding the differences can help you with the other side of things. Strike a balance, do both, but if we're talking about which one provides greater overall lifetime benefits, social skills will beat anything tangible every single time, because tangible things, tangible skills, tangible assets, first of all, can leave, right? A bad investment can suck your portfolio out. A bad turn of health can remove your body, right? But knowledge, understanding, social skills, intangibles, those are timeless. They never change and they never leave you. They will always be eminently useful. So don't ever think, forget bitches, I'm just going to stack money and looks max. Like, okay, you can do that too, but you have to focus in on the social skills and on understanding people.
Couldn't agree more.
Cool. So let's move on to the next question.
Okay. What is the most important thing to live a good life? Money, fitness, women. Like if you could pick one, which would you go with?
Wah. No, okay, actually, this does bring up an interesting point. Paul, maybe you've heard of Socrates' 3 keys to the good life, and this is something that people have understood for, well, literally, like, what is that, 2,500 years, right? But the triangle, the 3 keys to the good life: health, wealth, relationships. Those are the things that, if they are all in balance with one another, you will be happy. Now, this is actually a really important point, because if you're rich as hell and you have great health, but you have shit relationships, you're going to be miserable, right? Because as a triangle, right, like, you take one line out and it's gone, it's dead, it's finished. But same goes if you take any of the others out, right? If you are rich and have a great relationship, but shit health, then what? You're Stephen Hawking. Like, no thanks, don't want that, right? Or if you're very healthy and you have great relationships, but you got no money, then it's like, oh, okay, cool. So you're the local rock star who lives on like $300 a week on ramen noodles. Like, fuck that, right? None of those are good situations. The actual goal is for all 3 of them to be in balance, not for all 3 of them to be a 10. But if all 3 of them are a 5, you will be happy and you will have a good life. If all 3 of them are 7, you will be happy and you will have a good life. If any of them is lower than a 5, you're probably going to be miserable. So in balance and all above, at least at average or higher, is what you're looking for. You can't pick just one, because picking just one would be miserable, right? Like, that's what it is. Now, there's something to be said for the idea that life and existence itself is I don't want to say misery, because I don't feel that way, but it's more like the human condition requires that we always feel like we're lacking something. We always need to do something more. We need to add something more. And it doesn't matter who you are or what's going on, right? If you look at somebody like Arnold in his 30s, had all 3 in wild abundance: health, wealth, and relationships, all just fucking maxed out, top of the charts, right? But he still felt like, fuck, I feel like I can do more. I need to do more. There's something else that I can do, that I should do. So fuck it. I'll be a movie star. I barely even speak English, but I'll do it. I'll be a movie star. Okay, cool. Became a movie star. Internationally recognized. Famous as fuck on top of all the other things. Okay. Still not enough though. There's still something missing. There's something more. So fuck it. I'll become governor of California. Literally the highest possible office that I, as a foreign-born national, can ever hold. And succeeded. And still had to fuck his maid. Right? There was still something missing. So there is something to the idea that life itself is always the desire for something more, something greater, something else. The search for contentment is a never-ending one, and that's part of life. I think that more important than picking one of the 3 that's most important is refusing to view any of them as less important. So don't neglect your health. which is, let's be honest, something that I've been guilty of, right? I haven't taken great care of my health. My liver probably looks like it just came out of a jar of brine, right? Like, okay, cool. That's something to consider. That's not a good idea. Don't neglect your health. Don't neglect the money side of things. Don't neglect your relationships, your ability to talk to not just women, but to make friends, to make friends and influence people, right? To do the Dale Carnegie, right? These are all critical skills that you have to have and that you have to develop over a lifetime, and you'll never, ever, ever be done. Because that's life. So don't try to pick one. Just refuse to drop any of them.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Like finding your inner balance rather than outer perfection. I was once asked by a girl I was dating 2 or 3 years ago. She asked me, "Do you need me?" No.
Right.
All my plans I can do completely without you. Right now, I want you. There's a difference, but I don't need you.
I mean,
Right?
I hear you.
And,
I hear you, Paul.
and
Maybe I offer a quick counterpoint.
yeah,
This dick ain't gonna suck itself.
no, but that is a whole nother problem.
I
So now we're talking about what you need versus what you want, right?
right.
I think for myself and in my life, I have everything I need. Like I can be happy. I have good relationship. I have a lot of good friends. Like I have a good social circle. These things, which in general is what makes me happy.
Yeah.
I have a good job. I'm happy with what I do for my work. I am in fairly great health, I guess. But if you have everything you want, life leaves nothing to be desired, and you're gonna get depressed. So learning to figure out what you need, be happy with yourself and with your life, and then chase the improvements in the areas where you desire more. I think that is a more healthy way to go about it than trying to focus on one or two things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so as well. It's also just as important to recognize what you have and what you're trying to do, what you're trying to get, what you're trying to build, and why. If I'm going to be entirely honest, if I wanted to, I could stop all this, right? Like I could stop the coaching, I could stop the live streaming, I could stop all this stuff right now and just work as a teacher, an actor, a musician, right? Do a whole bunch of other things that I love doing as well, right? I'd be fine on the money front. I mean, I'd never be exceptional, most likely, right? Of course, there's always the possibility that like some acting gig or some music gig hits it big, but unlikely, right? I could, and I'd be fine. I'd be perfectly happy. I'd be content. Good relationship, fairly good health, all things considered. Fairly decent wealth, right? Not struggling, not having trouble making ends meet, nothing like that. Enough money stacked away for, a retirement one day, all that. I think that because the human condition always wants to be moving forward, we actively sabotage contentment. I think that whenever we see a situation that we know would be perfect, and then we could stop and literally just lay back and rest on our laurels, we actively sabotage it. And the reason for that is because if we had it, if we hit the goal, then we wouldn't have anything left to pursue. Then we would lose that meaning, that drive, that hunger in our life that keeps us moving forward. Did you ever see the movie Memento?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, then no need to introduce any 25-year-old spoilers to the to the conversation, but it kind of deals with this idea of like contentment isn't what you want, and you can actively sabotage contentment so that you still have a goal, so that you still have a mountain to climb, right? So yeah, I think that there's a lot on that. Let's hit the next question. Is this next one our last one for the evening?
This is the last one for the evening.
Okay, so if any of you guys in YouTube have any questions, now's the time to send them in.
Okay, last question. I want to stop drinking, but I only seem to meet new girls at bars, clubs, parties, etc., where I end up drinking. How can I keep meeting new girls without having to keep drinking?
Well, don't go to bars and clubs. Right? Like there are, come on, right? Like this, there are women literally everywhere that you go in your life. Everywhere. There are women everywhere. Do you know why? Because they're literally 50% of the fucking population. So all the things that you do, they do too. Actually, I think that they're a little bit overrepresented. I think it's like 50.9 or like almost 51%, something like that. So more women than men in the population. Everywhere you go, everything you do, there are women too. Not everywhere has alcohol. If you're only meeting women at bars and clubs, that is a limit you've placed on yourself. If you want to stop drinking, stop drinking. If you still want to go to bars and clubs, but you want to stop drinking, then it's going to require a little bit of kind of creative workarounds or something. Maybe when you go to the bar, you tell the bartender as soon as you walk in, you say, listen, I'm an alcoholic in recovery. So every time that I ask for a vodka tonic, I just want you to pour me tonic on ice, no vodka. Okay. And then you can drink with them, but without drinking alcohol. Or, and here's another idea. If you want to stop drinking, then stop trying to meet girls who drink, because even if you meet them and you develop a relationship with them, they're going to want to drink. So don't do that. Meet girls who are at the cafe, meet girls who are at the bookstore, meet the girls who are at the language exchange, meet the girls who are at the tennis club, meet the girls who are at the chess club, meet the girls who are at the book club. Meet the girls at your local church, meet the girls at the volunteer center, go volunteer at a pet shelter, to play with the dogs and take them out on walks and stuff, right? There are girls who go to volunteer at those things, and guess what? There's no alcohol needed at those events. In fact, it's probably either not allowed or heavily frowned upon, right? So just remove the girls from this equation. I want to stop drinking. I keep going to bars and clubs. How can I stop going to bars and clubs? Well, stop going to bars and clubs. Right? Because the girls are everywhere. The girls are everywhere, right? Now they might not always be what you consider the hottest or the most beautiful girls. It's very possible that the hottest girls go to clubs, not even to drink, but just to be seen in the clubs, because they're attention whore types. Maybe they're the Instagram girls who need to get their pictures done out there in the fancy club with all the cool kids, with all the beautiful people and all that stuff. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to go. Doesn't mean you have, because they do other things too, right? They do other things too. Go get a fucking pedicure. Go get a pedicure and talk to the other girls who are in there getting pedicures done. There's nothing gay about getting a pedicure, right? Just get your nails cleaned, get them, you know, you don't get them painted. You get like a protective coating on them, right? So that they don't break, so that they don't split, anything like that. It's fine. Go get a pedicure. Talk to the girls there. They probably aren't trashed while they're getting a fucking pedicure, right? There are literally a million things you can do other than drinking where you can also meet women. If the only thing you can think of to meet women is go to bars and clubs, that is an extreme limit of your imagination, and you can do better. It might just be that you need to sack up and start actually approaching girls when you're sober. You might be using alcohol as a crutch to approach women and saying, oh, well, I can't approach them unless I'm drinking, unless I'm in the place where they expect to be approached. Fuck that. Stop doing that. Stop using it as a crutch. Stop worrying about social viewpoints on things. Stop worrying about Me Too bullshit. Stop worrying about, oh, well, but this girl is she's gonna film me and put me on TikTok. Like, good. Fuck it. It'll boost your views, right? Maybe it'll make you rich. Who gives a shit? Sue her. Who gives a shit? Fuck it. Who gives a shit? Just do the things that you want to do and start actually approaching girls. Start actually talking to them. If somebody wants to indict you or get mad at you for being a normal fucking human being, fuck them.
Yeah, I think that's a good wrap up. Definitely, it sounds more like an issue of actually not approaching girls when you're not drinking, either because you have approach anxiety and you're using alcohol as a social lubricant, or you don't feel comfortable in the setting during the daytime. It can be a lot of things. It might be that you think the girls' inhibitions are lower when they're drinking, and yes, they are. But it doesn't justify only meeting girls at the bar.
Yeah.
My favorite places have been everywhere from dance classes to libraries.
One of my current clients, he was so resistant to dance classes. I found him some dance classes in his local area because he was complaining. He's like, oh, well, like I live, in the middle of nowhere. It's like basically a farm town out here in the Midwest. And I was like,
oh, perfect line dancing classes.
Actually, I found him a salsa and swing dance class.
That one is always gold.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, here's the thing, go to this. And he was like, yeah, I really don't want to. Like, I don't think I would fit in. I don't think I would do it. And I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Would you rather stay where you are now? Well, no, but like, isn't there another way? I don't know. I don't know if this is going to succeed. Maybe you're going to get there to the class and it's just going to be all fucking retirees and pensioners who are sitting around dancing away the last years of their life. Maybe. But if it is, then you can come back to me and be like, Jack, you were wrong. Okay? Would that make you feel better? And he's like, yeah, actually it would. All right, cool. So go. Go to the class. Go to the class once, right? Go to the class once. Let me know how it goes. Next week, he comes back. He's like, Jack, you were so fucking right. Oh my God. Like, I danced with 5 different girls and they were all young and they were all really pretty. Well, one was like a little bit chubby. And I was like, chubby relative to those in the class, right? Like, not relative to the other girls that you've been talking to every other week since we started this. Yeah, actually, she was really pretty compared to the other ones. I was like, right. So there are great places, great situations to meet women that aren't bars and clubs, right?
And also what to me at least, what's really nice with the dance classes and stuff like that is that it also creates a different type of social interaction. Uh, so one of the things with dance classes is, first of all, you don't really talk that much. You talk a little bit and you get to know each other over time, but most of the communication is done physically, right? And it also teaches you how to both portray your body language in sense of being leading, doing these things, as well as reading their body languages. And plus side, you get to hold a lot of beautiful girls, so who wouldn't do it, right?
Yeah. And it develops confidence because it, by necessity, like it must.
Yeah.
You have to be confident to lead. And you have to lead. You don't have an option.
Yeah.
Right? So you will develop the confidence because you have to. And even if it's only in that one area with that one particular style of dance, with just one or two basic steps, that is confidence. That is the process, which is the success. That is what you want all around, right? So, yeah, to answer the question, quit being a fucking idiot. Oh, man. Quit being a fucking idiot and unfuck your life. Now, with that said, I think that this is a good time for us to go ahead and wrap it up and bring things to a close. So for those of you who are still with us, if you haven't done it yet, please hit the like button. Really does help a lot. And I hope that you have enjoyed this, found it useful. If you have, please send this to somebody who you know who needs to unfuck their life this year in 2024, because this will help them do it. So with all that said, until next time, lads, Papa Jack